How to sleep sweetly and tackle tension too. Earth yourself to a stake in the garden by the big toe. Well, that's the theory advocated by a Suffolk couple, and they're going into business marketing it. One topic in tonight's About Anglia. Also in our hour-long edition, right now, a sweet and savoury recipe from Patrick and a look ahead to a troubled soccer season. About Anglia after ITN.
The news at 5:45 with Alistair Stewart.
Would you care to spend the night with a copper conductor jammed between your toes, earth to a stake outside in the garden? It could help you overcome stress. Well, that's a theory a Suffolk couple have been putting to the test. We'll be finding out why. And we'll be meeting an Essex heavyweight who'll be powering the weights for Britain next week, 27 years after he took up the sport. Two of the reports coming up. Also, right now on the railways, a craftsman who dreams of the gypsy life and a sweet and savoury dish from the pantry. But first, over to the news desk and John Bacon.
Good evening. 3 of the victims of the mass shooting at the Essex farmhouse were buried today. Farmer Mr. Neville Bamber and his wife June were shot by their daughter Sheila, a London model, who also killed her 6-year-old twin sons before committing suicide.
The small village of Tolson, Darcy, has been in mourning now for over a week. Permission for the funeral to go ahead was given on Wednesday at the inquest into the deaths of Neville and June Bamber, their adopted daughter Sheila and her 2 children, Daniel and Nicholas. Police said they had all died together from gunshot wounds. In Sheila's case, her death had been self-inflicted. The multiple tragedy was deeply felt in the village. With a population of just over 800, the Bamber family was well known and respected by everyone in the community. 61-year-old Mr. Bamber had been a magistrate and local farmer. He farmed 500 acres surrounding the village. Today, local magistrates and fellow farmers gathered to pay their respects. Jeremy Bamber arrived with his girlfriend and close members of the family in the cortege. Once inside, the short service began with Psalm 23, "The Lord is my shepherd." A hymn, "Lord of all hopefulness," followed. There were just too many for the tiny 12th century church, so many stood outside. Mrs. June Bamber also took an active part in local life. As church warden, she would often come here to St. Nicholas's to organise church activities. The children too were popular. Neighbours have spoken of how much the 6-year-old twins loved to visit White House Farm and play in the surrounding fields. Their father is arranging a separate funeral for them in London, where their mother Sheila lived. Today, though, was the service for their grandparents and mother. A previous remembrance service was also packed with local people. Afterwards, the Bambers' 3 coffins were carried out. The Bambers' adopted son, Jeremy, followed, his deep grief obvious. As the funeral procession left the church, inquiries will still be continuing by police, led by Detective Inspector Robert Miller, into just why 5 of the family had to die that night at White House Farm.
A woman who mugged a 17-year-old girl at Hitchin in Hertfordshire was jailed for 18 months today. The teenage victim was punched, kicked and had her handbag stolen. The ringleader of the attack, 23-year-old Joanne Kitely, who's from Hitchin, pleaded guilty to robbery. 24-year-old Vivian Young from Letchworth, who admitted taking part in the attack, was ordered to do 120 hours community service. The judge at St Albans Crown Court described the mugging as a nasty, vicious episode, and Kitely's lawyer said she accepted it was a callous, unpleasant and unprovoked attack.